Hello, you are watching Ocean Story. This time I have a lot of incredible stories. I don't meet my uncle very often, but yes, we can sometimes be together and talk about all sorts of little things. Not too long ago, I got married to Josa. Our wedding was not a big one. We invited only relatives and a few friends. A month later, I had a meeting in a cafe with my Uncle Hudson. We talked about family matters and his old car. Our topic changed quite quickly, and my uncle started to express his fears for me. My uncle brought up the subject of my husband, more specifically about his work and hobbies. The fact is that my husband, Josa, works as an ordinary sales manager for electronic goods. Josa has an average income for the country, which is enough for us now. So my uncle started to say that maybe I was a little bit hasty with my decision to marry Josa. I could have waited a little longer and chosen a more profitable husband. I didn't really understand what Hudson wanted to hear from me. I had to ask him to explain what he meant by the words. Not a very good option. I think I knew what Hudson wanted to say, but I believed I was wrong. Hudson began to explain what he meant. I'm telling you that when a man doesn't earn enough, it's very easy to be tempted by another man who has more money. I know many cases where girls cheated on their husbands just because they found richer guys. I interrupted him and said, "What about your relationship? You didn't earn much when you got married either." My uncle said, "Then I was very lucky that my wife didn't meet some rich guy." I started to tell him, "Uncle, you're making it too complicated. Josa loves me and I love him, and I'm not going to leave him just because some other guy makes a few thousand more than my boyfriend." Hudson said, "Maybe you're right, but I'm talking about a little bit different things. For example, you wouldn't be ready to leave your husband for a guy who makes $12,000 a month. But if you had the opportunity to date a guy who makes $60,000 a month, you would. I doubt you would have turned him down easily." My uncle said he was very worried that I would leave my husband for a richer man. I told him, "Uncle, you shouldn't be so worried. After all, why do you even think I would sell out? It was very rude of you to start such a conversation." I asked Hudson not to start such conversations again, or I will never speak to him again. Hudson even tried to apologize. However, I ended the conversation, called the waiter, paid, and went home. Hudson was very upset about the end of our conversation. After that, my uncle's wife called me. She scolded me because I had spoiled my uncle's mood with bad words. My aunt said that my reaction made Hudson very upset, and he didn't even want to have dinner tonight. My dad was also not unaffected by the situation. He said that there was nothing wrong with my uncle's example, and that it does happen that girls leave their husbands for other guys who are richer. I told him that I knew these stories very well, but at that moment, my uncle seemed to start saying that my husband was a loser and I made a big mistake when I married Josa. So my reaction was very simple. Some of my family members consider me a rude person because of my overreaction. I think that my uncle crossed the line and gave such a strange example. By the way, my uncle doesn't want to talk to me anymore because I hurt his feelings. Everly, your uncle was partly right, but it really looked like he was judging your husband and telling you right to your face. Josa is a loser and you should leave him. Maybe that's what he meant when he spoke to you. I know a lot of people who, despite not having a lot of money, have lived happy lives without cheating or anything like that. I think your uncle saw someone else's bad experience, and now he gives everyone such idiotic advice. No wonder your family is angry with you. On the contrary, you defended your boyfriend and saved his reputation. Anna, it is understandable that you were hurt and upset by your uncle's comments, especially when he implied that your marriage was a mistake based on financial considerations. Marriage is a personal choice, and the decision to marry someone is often based on love, compatibility, and shared values, not just financial factors. Just like your uncle said, your reaction to your uncle's remarks may have been harsh, but it's only natural to defend your choices and set boundaries. When faced with such intrusive and judgmental comments, it can be hurtful and inappropriate to criticize a spouse and suggest that financial considerations could lead to infidelity. Your response was a clear indication of your affection for your husband and your unwillingness to support such negative assumptions. If I were you, friend, I would have dumped a bowl of soup on Hudson's head for setting such stupid examples. My next story. My husband and I came to a small party at my sister's house. My sister Caroline has a husband but no children yet. My husband Christian and I are thinking about having children in the next 2 years. But that's a bit of a different story in our life. My sister has a nice house, even a swimming pool, and a separate small vacation home. My sister's husband has a good income to support it all. We had a few questions after the party was over. While we were there, we had a lot to talk about with our friends. We played different games and had fun. At one point, I noticed Caroline approaching some people and giving them a small envelope. My husband and I learned about its contents only after a while. The whole holiday went on like that, and I was very curious if Caroline would give my husband and me that envelope. Eventually, our party ended, but no one approached me or Christian. I thought it was no big deal and put it out of my mind. The next day, my sister was supposed to come to see me with her husband. We sat and drank coffee and talked. Suddenly, I remembered the envelope case and decided to ask them directly what was inside that envelope. Christian told me it was silly to ask, but I didn't stop. My sister turned a little pale and could not answer right away. Her husband said that they were small invitations for families with children because they wanted to spend a day with them separately to gain experience. And since my husband and I don't have children, we never got that envelope. When I heard this, I calmed down a bit and stopped thinking about it. My sister went away on business and it was over, or rather, it was supposed to end that way. 1 week later, I started to learn from social media that my sister was pregnant. It was as if everyone knew about it except me. There were even photos of a bunch of people congratulating Caroline on her pregnancy. I quickly showed it to my husband and the two of us were in full cheek. I could not even imagine that my own sister would not invite me to such an event because I think this is really something important and something I should know about. However, my sister and her husband decided that it would be better if Christian and I found out about her pregnancy from social media. This was quite painful for me. Caroline is almost the closest person to me in the world. So when I started thinking about it, it just made me feel worse. My husband even gave me medication to calm me down. A few hours later, when I came to, I immediately started calling my sister. Caroline did not answer the phone and just ignored me until the evening. Although I saw her posts on Instagram later, and it annoyed me very much. Around 10 in the evening, Caroline dialed me and was ready to receive congratulations. I started asking her about what she was feeling right now. Caroline said she didn't know what I was talking about. I said to her, "A few weeks ago, you were giving envelopes to different people at a party. As it turned out, they were invitations to publicly announce that you were finally pregnant. But my husband and I were not invited to such an event. Why were you so rude to me?" Caroline said, "I know you and Christian have a lot to do, and I don't think you would want to go to the other side of town to find out I'm pregnant." I told my sister to come up with a better excuse, because this is childish shit, and that was the end of that. I have no desire to talk to my sister now. Caroline has tried to contact me several times. However, after she decided that I should no longer know about something important in her life, now she will know nothing about my life. I don't need a sister who thinks I should know about important things in her life from social media. My husband says that even though my sister is obviously wrong, I shouldn't be so angry with her and stop having contact with her. My mom tells me the same thing, but I can't help myself now. Hunter, it's understandable that you feel hurt and upset by what your sister did to you. She has told almost everyone but you about her pregnancy. Not being personally invited to such an important event in her life may have made you feel excluded and devalued. It's natural to expect close family members to share important moments directly with you, rather than learning about them through social media. I don't know how I would react if my brother, for example, bought a new motorcycle and didn't invite me to it. Your feelings are real, and it's okay to be hurt by your sister's actions. Everyone here would be upset and would hardly want to deal with Caroline later. Nova, although it is understandable that you are hurt and angry, it is important to consider talking to your sister calmly and openly. Your husband and mother may be offering reconciliation because they care about your well-being and family relationships. It may be worth listening to their advice and finding a way to express your feelings without completely severing ties with your sister. However, the decision is ultimately yours, and it is important that you prioritize your emotional well-being. Even if you decide not to talk to your sister anymore, that's not a bad thing either. Although I think it was not difficult for her to invite you, but for some reason she had reasons not to. Genesis, your sister did something pretty stupid. Why did she make invitations for all the other people and not for you? I think your sister wanted you to resent her, and you're the one who made it happen. Thus, because of your aggression, Caroline is now the victim and not the first cause of the conflict. Now I want to tell a different story. My work colleague told me that she knows a girl who got into trouble, but she is unable to help her because of her family situation. The girl, named Audrey, needed a place to live. After her parents lost their parental rights, Audrey did not want to go to an orphanage and tried to avoid social workers. I felt very sorry for her. I thought that my husband and I could help Audrey. I asked my colleague where the girl was now. I managed to get in touch with Audrey and invited her to my house. Before that, I talked to my husband Ryan. He agreed because he also wanted to do something to help. Audrey's first hours in our home with Ryan were not bad. This girl was quite shy and not impudent like children of 16 can be. I liked Audrey in a very short time. My husband and I decided that the whole situation was not clear yet. Audrey will live with us for as long as she needs. 1 week has passed since Audrey has been living in my house. My husband has said several times that Audrey behaves a little strange sometimes. Ryan told me a story. I saw my watch lying in the living room. A few hours later, when I wanted to put it on, there was no watch in the room. When I went to the kitchen to fry some vegetables, I saw my watch in one of the cabinets. It was as if it was hidden from me. The watch disappeared about 3 times in a week. A few more days passed and a very strange situation occurred. While I was in the bathroom, my husband was in the living room. Audrey was about to go outside for a little walk. My husband wanted to look at the clock to see what time Audrey left the house. However, Ryan remembered that he had put his watch on the nightstand near the exit of the house. From the couch in our living room, we can see the exit and the cabinet with the watch on it. Ryan saw Audrey start to take his watch and put it in her pocket. He quickly got up and went to her to find out what was going on. When I came out of the bathroom, I heard a noise. My husband was yelling at Audrey for trying to steal his watch. I barely managed to calm Ryan down. My husband was panicking and trying to explain the whole situation. I sent Audrey to her room until we could sort things out. Then I went to Audrey to find out what she wanted to do with the watch. Audrey explained that she had never seen a watch like this before. She liked it so much that she wanted to show it to her friends, but she wasn't sure if Ryan would let her have it. So she decided to take the watch this way. When I realized the problem and talked to Audrey, I went to my husband's room to explain everything to him. Also, when I talked to Audrey, I told her to apologize tomorrow. The next day, Ryan did not accept Audrey's apology. He believed that she wanted to steal his watch, not just look at it. So Ryan started saying that this girl has no place in our house. I was trying to work something out with my husband, but Ryan could no longer trust Audrey. He said that the best solution for us would be for Audrey to live in another house. At the time, I couldn't believe that my husband had made such a tough decision. I felt very sorry for her, and I believe that Ryan should not have made such a decision. Asher, it is unfortunate to see Audrey, a young girl in need of help, face such a hasty and potentially unfair judgment. Rather than taking the time to delve into the reasons for Audrey's actions, the immediate assumption of theft and the subsequent decision to ask her to leave indicate that your husband did not really want to know the real reasons. Audrey's background and recent experiences may have influenced her behavior, which seemed out of the ordinary. Given her background, a more compassionate approach would have been to engage in a thoughtful conversation with Audrey, giving her the opportunity to explain her actions. Misunderstandings, especially in such delicate situations, can be cleared up through open dialogue. Even though you had it, I think your husband could have been kinder to Audrey. But on the other hand, Ryan did the right thing. I can't say anything good or bad about this situation. Brooklyn, what did you expect from a girl you barely know? Your husband is very right, and you should recognize this, even if he is rude. Today, Audrey tried to steal your husband's watch. A few days later, Audrey would like to show her friends your phone. Then she could take the money to show it to her friends too. Stop being such a naive woman. Audrey has been trying to deceive you with her stories about her friends. You tried to help her, and Audrey stabbed you in the back. She deserves not to live in your house. Moreover, Bella's refusal to accept Audrey's apology and insistence that she lead without a chance for redemption may exacerbate her feelings of rejection and unworthiness, especially for people like Audrey who come from dysfunctional backgrounds. It is very important to feel supported and understood in a new environment. Why she did it, this is what needed to be addressed more than the fact that Audrey was trying to steal something. If you and your husband decide that Audrey should leave your home, you will not be able to influence her future decisions. It is you who could help her. But now Audrey will probably spend the rest of her life hiding and trying to steal things. Next story. Not long ago, I got into a conflict with my husband because of a friend of his. Thomas and I have been married for a very long time and have several children. We had a plan to spend our Christmas not only with our family. We agreed that this year we would invite our own friends, who'd have no one to celebrate Christmas with this year. We had never done this with Thomas before, and it was going to be something new for us. Everything was going pretty well until Thomas and his friends came to our house. Usually Thomas and his friends come to our house on Saturday and talk about cars or play games and then grill meat. Among my husband's friends is Leo, who used to be in a close relationship with a girl who was also invited to Christmas. They were not formally a couple, but there was something between Leo and Skylar. In the end, it didn't work out except for conflict. They stopped talking and started avoiding each other all the time. However, I didn't want to choose between my friend and my husband's friend, so I invited both of them. Let's move on to Saturday and my husband's friends. As usual, they were sitting on the street talking about all sorts of stupid things. Thomas called me over to spend some time with them. I was sitting there drinking a soda when I received a message from Skylar. We had been talking about clothes and what she should wear. At that moment, the phone was on the table, and my husband saw the message from Skylar. He picked up the phone and read what she had written. "Honey, I sent you some photos with clothes. Choose the best one. I'm kissing you." The boy started laughing and asking to see the photos. My husband started looking at the photos Skylar had sent. They liked the two options she sent, but when Leo saw who the photos were from, his mood changed a bit and he even put his beer glass away. He didn't say anything very loud. Is Skylar going to be at the party? I went over and took my phone back from my husband's hands. I didn't like the fact that all the guys were looking at my friend. After a moment, Leo turned to me and told me that I needed to take back my invitation that was meant for Skylar. He repeated this several times until my husband intervened and calmed his friend down. For a few minutes, Leo was quiet and seemed to calm down, but he started talking again about his fears about Skylar coming to Christmas. I didn't feel like listening to him again, so I decided to go home. Moreover, my husband's friends began to support Leo, so my presence there was definitely unnecessary. It was around 5 in the evening. An hour later, I went out to get some fruit for my room. The boys came in from the street and were sitting on the couch playing a game. Leo noticed me and came to the kitchen. He again started talking to me about not inviting his ex-girlfriend, saying that it would be a fatal blow for him, which he would not be able to withstand. Leo said he was still traumatized from his relationship with Skylar, so if he spends a long time with her again, it will have negative consequences. His whining went on for quite a while. I partially understood Leo's feelings and his pain, but I had my own plans for this Christmas. I didn't want my close friend to miss the holiday, just because Leo couldn't stand her. After all, he could sit on the other side of the room and have no contact with Skylar and still be at the party. But Leo didn't want to do that. At that moment, Leo really got to me with his words. I told him everything I was thinking at that moment, because I was very surprised that Leo was not the first time. He tried to assure me that it would be a mistake to call Skylar. I rudely and clearly told Leo that I would not fulfill his request. I told him that he is not my problem at the moment. I don't care about his feelings about it. I also said that I would personally feel better if Leo did not come. So maybe he shouldn't go to Christmas if it will affect Leo's mental state that much. I know that was probably rude of me. However, Leo has crossed all the lines. Leo went straight to his friend's room. In the evening, Thomas was angry with me for ruining his friend's holiday mood. Thomas told me that I should have called him and resolved the conflict together. The next time it was a Saturday, my husband's friends refused to come over because they started talking about me, that I might attack one of them and make them guilty of something. I was sorry that it happened that way, but should I have listened to Leo and not invited my own friend, Lucy? The conflict that arose during the Christmas preparations revealed the difficulties of managing interpersonal relationships, especially when it comes to social gatherings and mixed groups of friends. It's understandable that you wanted to create a warm and inclusive atmosphere at Christmas by inviting friends who might be lonely during the holidays, which by design wouldn't be a bad thing for anyone. The problem arose when a past romantic relationship between your friends Skylar and Leo One of your husband's friends became a source of tension. Leo's discomfort and his request that you not invite Skylar has created a difficult situation. On the one hand, your loyalty to your close friend Skylar was obvious. But on the other hand, you had to decide the fate of your husband's friend. It didn't matter what Leo told you. I think it was a situation that Leo and Skylar should have resolved themselves, because you just became the culprit in this situation. Charles, Leo's emotional distress has come to the fore, and it's become apparent that accommodating everyone's feelings will be difficult. While your reaction may have seemed harsh, it underscored the difficult position you found yourself in, torn between loyalty to a close friend and keeping the peace in your husband's group of friends. I think you did the right thing, even if you were rude. Leo should not have dictated his terms to you, at least because it was your house. You refused him, so Leo should have stopped talking to you about it. It's unfortunate that the aftermath of the conflict affected future gatherings, as your husband's friends were hesitant to attend for fear of further conflict. But all participants in this conversation should be objective. Only your husband's friend created the conflict. Leo was unable to control himself, which caused the conflict. In my opinion, your husband is also to blame. If he did not start showing his friends the messages from Skylar, then maybe there was no conflict at all. All I have with my brother is the love of my grandfather and his wife. They really deserve something good and nice this year. My dad walked out of the room very angry and has no desire to talk to me anymore. It's funny, of course, because I hardly ever talk to him anyway. But now I feel guilty for what I said. I must have done something wrong with my dad. I feel terrible. Eli, it is clear that you had a complex and emotionally charged relationship with your father, shaped by his absence at crucial moments in your childhood. The pain and longing for a more present and involved father figure is palpable in your story. I have experienced what it is like to live without a father. When he is only formally present, children get traumatized and then have a hard time living. It's very terrible that you had such a negative experience. It is understandable that expressing gratitude to your grandfather and his wife for the love and support they provided over the years can be emotional, especially when your father felt excluded. However, your feelings are valid, and it is very important that your father understands how his absence has affected your life. Although it sounds like your father thinks you are the one who is wrong and should be very grateful for everything you have had, but your dad is looking at this situation in a very inaccurate way. Emily, your emotions are likely a mixture of frustration, disappointment, and a deep desire for recognition and connection. It is important to recognize that your feelings are a result of the circumstances and dynamics you have experienced. And in this situation, it is even normal to be angry with your dad, although perhaps all this could have been resolved earlier. If you feel comfortable, consider having a calm and honest conversation with your father. Tell him how his absence has affected you emotionally, and let him know the depth of your feelings. You and your brother have not had a father for all these years. I think you should start building your relationship with your own father now. It is possible that your father does not fully realize the impact of his actions on your emotional well-being. If your dad doesn't change at least now, he will definitely lose you and your brother forever.